Hello, welcome to this DCS A-18C tutorial. In this video, I will be talking about and covering Maverick air-to-ground missiles. So to begin, on pylons 7, 8, 3, and 2, Ondor air-to-ground missiles, I have the AGM-65F Maverick F IIR ASM missile. The Maverick F is an IR missile. You have other options, such as laser-guided Mavericks, but those are ultimately useless, and you never really want to use those. The IR Mavericks are also generally not advised to be used, because if you're trying to be the most combat effective you can see you can only have one per pylon. You can do more things having two laser-guided or two GPS-guided munitions on that same pylon. In the 1% use case that you want to actually use these missiles, they're useful for fire and forget. So you can pop up on a target, say, fire these, and then fly away and not have to worry about guiding it in like a laser. Because they are IR missiles, they will track heat sources. And I'll be covering how to utilize these specifically with your targeting pod. It's possible to use them on their own without a targeting pod, but it's a bit more complicated and cumbersome, and I'll cover that in a later video. So to begin, once these are on your plane, we can come to our air-to-ground stores page, and you'll see Maverick Fs on all of the pylons, and they're all standby. So I will select my Maverick F. At this point, I will come out to the menu, and then choose iMav Display. This is now showing a view out the seeker head of our Maverick missiles. Just like our targeting pod, our Maverick has to warm up, and you'll see up here a timer. This will increase to about 2 minutes, 30 seconds, 3 minutes. Once this timer goes away, our Maverick has completely warmed up and is able to be utilized. We'll also get a picture on this screen, an IR picture, just like we would with our targeting pod, just a little less detailed. On the left, we have 3 fusing options: instant, delay 1, or delay 2. Just like with all of the other previous munitions, instant would be an instant detonation upon impact, and delay 1 would be a split second after, and delay 2 would be a little bit longer of a delay. All right, timer has went away, and now we have a view out the seeker head of the missile. Down here, we have an option for ship. If we box that, and we're utilizing the Maverick on a ship, it would try to hit the ship on the water line rather than on any other part of it. We're going to be using it on land targets today, but if you ever use it on a ship and you want it to hit on the water line of the ship to try and make a bigger impact damage, you can go ahead and box that. Since we're on land, I'll unbox it. On the page itself, we have an option down here, WHT. We can change it to BLK, and that'll change the white hot or black hot symbology here. You can see this changes. I'll leave it on white hot to go along with the targeting pod. And we also have a view or a button called FOV, field of view. We can change that. And just like our targeting pod, it will zoom in to the bounds of this box. If we want to change the FOV, we can actually make it our sensor of interest and then hit our FOV select button, RAID FLIR FOV select. This one utilized in air-to-air quite a lot, or not a lot, but sometimes. All right, at this point, we're all set and ready to go. I'm going to fly out to some targets, and I'll show you how to use these. I'll get myself into air to ground and armed. Get velocity vector mode on my targeting pod. And you'll see with our Mavericks selected, on our HUD we have a new symbol, this triangle, upside down triangle. This is where the Maverick is currently looking. So this view coming out the Maverick is pointed right at this triangle. When we lock a target, you'll see the triangle moves, and it'll be over the target that we are locking. I'll pause here as I'm flying towards the targets and be back with you in just 1 second. All right, so I'm approaching a target area. I'm going to go ahead and try and find a target. Again, adjusting my gain and contrast to my liking. Oh, a whole bunch of targets here. Let's go for that one. So I'm actually going to go ahead and get this into a moving target track to make my life easier. This can be utilized using all the different kinds of methods we talked about in previous air-to-ground videos. At this point, we have a time to maximum release range timer. These are generally good for about 8 miles or so at the maximum. You can expect that to be about 0 when we hit that. Now that I have the target that I want to fire on locked with my targeting pod, all I need to do is press sensor control switch to my Mavericks, in this case left, and it will move itself onto the target. If I want it to have a better chance of getting a lock, because it's going to have to look for a heat signature, I will press my raid flare button to zoom in. And we can see that just barely there's a little bit of a speck in there. So I'm just going to wait until I get within range. You'll see the diamond, or the triangle, has moved down to where it found a target. And when you fire these, you want to make sure your plane is generally pointed in the direction of the target. In this case, I'll nose down a little bit. These missiles can curve, but they're not extreme, so they won't be able to curve like straight down or really far away. All right, at this point, we're in range. Our Maverick is no longer crossed out. The gap you saw is now closed, and if I hit weapon release, the Maverick has fired, and the view on the display has now changed to the next Maverick we have. If I want to unlock the target, I will hit my cage uncage button, and it will reset the seeker head back to the center of my screen. Back target. All right, I'm going to look for another target on my pod. Adjusting my display. I'll turn back in and demonstrate that again. All right, here's a target. I'll go moving target track. And then all I need to do is sensor control switch left to my Maverick. You see it has not moved onto the target, so I'll hit my cage uncage button. Now it has moved. It has a closed cross, so it has found the target. My Mav F is uncrossed out. Weapon release. Simple as that. Now I'll fly out a little bit, come back in at a bit longer of an approach, and I'll show you that you can utilize these extremely similarly to how you would a GPS guided munition, in the fact that you can fire more than one on a single pass. It all comes down to how fast you can operate your targeting pod and how confident you feel in pressing the buttons. Once again, we knew we had a lock because this gap was closed and we had a solid cross. Additionally, if we don't have a lock, Mav F will be crossed out and we will be unable to fire. All right, I'll start looking for another target. Let's go for a group to make my life easier to demonstrate. All right, a couple of vehicles here. So first I'm going to go for this right one. You don't have to put it in moving target track, but I like to make sure my pod is completely focused at the target. At this point, I will sensor control switch to my Mavericks. It has jumped to the target. I'm going to raid Flare FOV to zoom in to make it easier for the target to, or the pod Maverick to find a lock. It's not being cooperative. I don't know why, but you should be able to. All right, I have a lock. The cross is closed. Fire. Come back to my pod. Put it over the next target. Sensor control switch left. Lock. Fire. At this point, we should see both of those targets. There's one, and there's two. Both destroyed. So you can fire these in quick succession. Then you can fire these on moving targets, stationary targets. Because these are IR missiles, they just have to lock onto a heat source. Once again, these have very limited use cases, as you can only carry one per pylon. Generally, you'll be much more combat effective utilizing the laser guideds or the GPS guideds. But should you ever need to do, say, a pop-up attack coming over a hill at a target and doing a quick acquisition and fire on, and then running away, rather than being able to come up in the air and get a lock and drop a bomb normally, you have that option available to you. And sometimes they're just plain fun to use if you're not caring about how combat effective you are. All right, that covers everything. Thanks for watching.